Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine. So let me start sharing my screen. Right. So I guess, Rochelle, could you just give me a green light? Like, do you see my screen? Everything is fine?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So hi, everyone. So my name is Lenka Pincot, and I'm Chief of Staff at Project Management Institute. That's a for-profit, not for-profit, for-purpose global organization, which works with professionals all around the globe who are providing project management, agile coaching, transformational leadership. So our mission, our purpose is to help these professionals to develop, to be better at their job, to progress with their careers, and to create impact. And I am here today to talk about a topic which sounds, I hope, interesting for you, because it's about combination of culture and technology and how we can support our culture by the right choice of tools. So my talking points, what we will touch upon during this story, I will first start by explaining a little bit what is the impact on different industries and on the way how we work by ongoing digital transformation, and what are then the challenges that this pose either for leaders or for the teams. I will shortly stop about the topic, which I believe is very important to acknowledge, to understand, and that is that our customer experience that we provide to our customers is very heavily influenced by the experience that we provide to our employees. We even say that employee experience equals customer experience. And this is very important because as we will see what challenges this digital transformation is putting on our teams, then we will see what is important to take care of. And then comes the fourth part of my presentation. This is the actual story. This is what I would like to share with you. And that's description of the journey which I went on when we try to support culture by use of low-code, no-code technology. So my topic is, there's a lot of technology, but I will try to make it very, very easy and very friendly. So I hope that will be fine with you. So before we start talking about the story, let's first discuss why is it important to understand what is technology actually influencing. So I like to use this research. This research is from Switzerland Business School. The school is called IMD, and research is called Digital Vortex. It's free to download. You can research it. You can access it. IMD is doing this research since 2015, and what are they looking at is how are disruptive technologies influencing the major 14 industries around the world. And what they discover over these years, that there are certainly industries which are at the edge of this vortex, which means the impact of disruptive technologies is a little bit less visible. There are industries which are in the middle of the vortex, where the impact is biggest, which means the industries really need to transform. However, over the years, the vortex is kind of like getting more intense, which is very interesting. And also the order of industries as they are closer or further from the center of the vortex is also changing over time. So it's not a stable situation, but it also says that no one is spared from impact of digital disruption. And just for your illustration, the industries which are impacted the most are media and entertainment. And I guess that this is what we all probably experience as well, right? So I don't know, we probably don't have this question, the Mentimeter, but I would ask, like, who still reads newspaper, like in the paper, you know, that you really hold it in your hand, who is actually waiting for the next morning to get some news, or what is probably the cause, who just takes a mobile phone and just like checks what's going on. Also for entertainment, right? We all remember like a TV, and now we have all these streaming services. There's a huge progress was made also in retail with e-commerce and all of this that technology brought into this sector. Me, myself, I spent the last 4 years in financial services, and I was working on digital transformation and with our teams to provide digital solutions to our customer. Again, a massive change on the way how services are delivered and how we can interact with customers. So what is then the impact of the digital transformation is that industries need to rethink the way how their revenue is created. They need to rethink the way how they deliver their products and services, because as these products and services, which were traditional, sometimes like face-to-face, you had to go somewhere to get your service or product. This is now moving to digital space. And this has impact because in digital, everything is changing way faster, and we really need to thrive for organizational agility to be able to cope with that change. And organizational agility, that means not only the way how we organize our teams and how do we work inside a company, but that mostly means how do we work with our strategy, how we are even able to realize what's going on, what is impacting us, and then be able to set the organization in that way that the organization is able to act. So if I make it like really summarize this point here, that because we are under impact of digital transformation, it really forces us to be more agile on the whole organization level. Now, what is it good for? Like, is it really important? I would say yes, because the part of the research is also showing that if a company has certain digital maturity and disruption comes, like we all experienced with the pandemic, then companies with high digital maturity are able to keep up their performance, especially financial performance, which means these companies with high digital maturity certainly more resilient and more able to withstand impact of disruption. So that's important for the health of the companies, for the stability. I believe it's important for the economy as well. This is a different study which I didn't include here, but it's another study which is provided by IMD when they look at the overall economy index and in relation with which industries are present in certain countries and regions. So there is definitely a connection there. So now what it all means for way of work, and I mentioned this thing with employee and customer experience. So how does it all come together? So another piece of research which I'm showing here, this is from a report, How Software Excellence Fuels Business Performance. This report was produced by McKinsey. Again, it's publicly available. You see the source on the bottom of my slide, so you can just Google it and get that. And in this research, they looked specifically at something which they call Developer Velocity Index, which is ability of a company to deliver fast their software changes. And again, why is it important? Because with digitalization, as so many things became digital, then leaders in the industry are essentially also software houses. So they need to constantly work on their digital platforms and deliver changes quickly to customers to keep up with their expectations and with their demand. And if you're able to do that, then this research shows again that you are set up for good performance, you set up for growth, and also you set up for innovation. However, this all sounds great, right? So we digital, everything is perfect. However, there are certain challenges which are coming with that. So these are challenges for our leaders, but also challenges for our teams. When we look at the challenges from the leader side, for leaders' perspective, there is a huge responsibility on their side to set the vision, to set the strategy, and then guide the company in a way so that the company can actually execute that strategy and follow that vision. And this is very hard with such a high level of uncertainty, because I talked about impact of technology, but it's like a general word, technology, but there's different types of technologies, right? So the first challenge comes with the ability to assess the impact, what the technology can actually do in my industry, how can it disrupt, and what will be the impact, overall impact of that. Then technology is not the only thing which is important. And I hope that all of us, I guess, all of us on this call, we do understand how important is to, work with sustainability, with ESG, and invest in these, because this is our investment for long-term future. So these are areas where we need to progress, where we need to get better as well. Then in order to grow business, you need to be providing good customer experience. So we also need to invest in disciplines such as DX and CX. And overall, you have to make decisions. How do you deal with the resources that you have to become to the best outcome and to deliver the best value? So with the uncertainty and with the challenge of predicting how it will all work out, this is becoming very interesting and difficult. And when we do all these decisions, then we need to maintain team cohesion, which means that we need to get in a state where people know where we are going, where we are heading, and what's important. And this is getting incredibly even more difficult currently when we work in remote way, when we don't see each other that often. We have to rely on different communication channels than before. It's just like we don't have that luxury anymore just to casually meet in the kitchen and discuss over coffee. So this is becoming difficult for leaders. Then for teams, there are different challenges. So for instance, with remote way of work, our environment became even more global than before. And of course, we need to address cultural differences when we were working in global companies, but now the workforce became truly global. So now almost like everyone has to deal with cultural differences and be able to be able to perform multicultural leadership and work with cultural diversity in teams, which is a challenge. This is something that we need to learn. In hybrid workplaces, it's more difficult to build trust and relationships simply because of the fact that we don't see each other. And then when we have difficulties to share information and keep everybody updated, then it results in difficulty to tracking progress and simply understanding what is the status quo. So these are the practical challenges that we face. It's a combination of being digital also in the way how we work, which means working with different information channels, working in different ways, sharing information different way than we used to a few years back. And also there is this challenge that we need to make decisions quickly and we need to be able to do informed decisions. So how do we even work with the information and understanding of the world around? So it's like, yeah, a lot of things going on, a lot of decisions that are needed, and it's just like not easy to have it all done. If I stay on the problem side, still showing like where do we still have to look at. So I have this chart trying to explain that employee experience equals customer experience. And with the chart before, with all the challenges that we have, then we, I guess, understand that the situation is not easy for leaders, but it's not easy for employees either. So one thing that we all need to deal with, I explained on the previous slide that we need to balance our investments in different areas which are important. We need to prioritize, but at the same time, we cannot put everything just on one bed. And at the same time, our employees are dealing with the situation that as the companies want to progress and invest in the future, they still have to deal with the present and the past, which is often represented by legacy architecture elements, legacy systems, and things which are simply not that fancy as the ones that we would like to provide to our customers. So why I'm saying this, because I've been countless times in a situation where we want to deliver the best digital experience to our customers, yet we have to deal with outdated and really heavy systems inside. And it's very difficult to keep the processes and decisions moving when you hit the wall with really some kind of like IT dinosaur sitting inside your company. Then the other challenge is that as things really start to happen way faster, and especially for different businesses, there is a very interesting phenomenon that who do we even consider our competitor? Traditionally, we were looking at competitors as companies who were doing similar things like us, but now almost everyone can be competitor because with digital technology, we have these emerging competitors who come completely from different industries and they disrupt our space. So we need to look out not only to the threats and competitors that we knew before, but also for completely new players who just like pop up overnight. And again, that's what's happening on the outside. So there's this urgency to fast way of understanding what's going on, fast decision making. Yet inside, we are trying to turn our teams into these software houses. But the question is, and again, what I experienced a couple of times, can we keep up with our processes? Are we also fast enough on reorganizing, redesigning the way we work, how we do internally to be able to keep up with all the urgency and the things which are happening outside. And again, if you are not able to keep up, you again frustrate your employees a lot because they feel that they know that it's important to act fast, to be flexible, to be agile, yet inside you basically put them in a situation where you have heavy processes, a lot of information that needs to be processed before anything is done. So this is definitely another area that we need to watch out very closely. And then the last one, which I talked about. So customers, they're looking for seamless experience, kind of like a convenient one-stop service. I need something, I take my phone, I get it. Yet inside the company, it's not that easy. It would be lovely. I mean, I would love that as a person, as an employee, to come and have also this one-stop service. But in the workplace, we have to work with very different cultures, multi-generation expectations from how we should work, how we should collaborate. Even the idea of collaboration or co-creation is something that evolved over past years. And we need to work with different subcultures under one roof to get everyone aligned. So customer expects us to be very fast and simple and seamless. And inside, again, we need to be able to invest at the same time to create similar environment. Because if we don't, we again cause this frustration on the inside, because employees, they love to make their customers happy. But what I want to say by this slide, that we need to invest equally on the employee side to be able to execute their processes and decisions as fast as we need them to be able to cope with customer expectations. So far I was talking a lot about challenges. And now the time is, there is a time now, say like, okay, so what do we do with that? There's like a lot of things which can go wrong. So what are some answers? So what I would like to look at first is the topic of innovation. And again, this is something very interesting, because during my roughly around 20 years career, I experienced different approaches to innovation. We all need to innovate, not only to be able to keep up, but simply to progress, to grow. And but the thing is, like, how do we do that? So one very traditional way is to dedicate some teams. We say like, okay, you are our innovation team. This is your job to test, to experiment with new things. And then once it's working, bring it in the company. So there are some difficulties to bringing that innovation in the company, but I will not talk about that right now. But let me just stop at this idea of dedicated innovation team. So the problem with that is that whenever we dedicate some resources to a certain topic, we immediately create that a bottleneck, because there's only one point of contact, one team to whom we need to go when we want to innovate. So either what can we do with that bottleneck? It's either like we invest more, we make it bigger, it still remains a bottleneck. Or, and this is my like something that I would like to inspire you today, is to consider to look at that completely differently. And instead of having this team that takes care of a certain topic, we can completely decentralize. We can democratize innovation. We can make it available for everyone. And if we do that, then we essentially remove that bottleneck. So now what is needed to make it happen is that then we need to give our teams, our employees, tools that are made for this fast trying and learning. So if I want to do something, I have tool, I have ability to go and test my hypothesis, do that quickly, roll it out, get feedback, and work with that. And I know that this is essentially the concept that we work with when we set up our agile teams for customer-facing products. But with this technologies, with this approach, we can do more or less the similar thing also for teams who are not customer facing and who don't have access to all these resources to build digital services, but we can do the same with them. And why is it so important? Because when we really want to have teams that feel good, when they have idea, they can go and act. So we need to create a culture that is based on this empowerment and that leverage internal talents. Essentially, that means that if we want to be successful, we want to create culture where if you have a good idea, you are really free to act. You don't have to go through any approval process, someone who will say, okay, let me assess your idea, let me prioritize, yeah, maybe in a half a year I will talk to you. No, we need to make things faster. If you have your idea, go and try. So the technology that can help with this on the internal side is called low code, no code. Sometimes it's also known under the name of citizen developer, which basically means democratization of software development to people who are not necessarily software developers. So what is the story? What is the history of that? So I love this picture which you see here. And if you look closely at the picture, you see their numbers. There is a chart. These gentlemen, they're holding a chart, and it says 1992. And I think it's like 1860 or some, oh, sorry, 1960. I can't read it properly, but it's just some like chart, you know, some number developed over years. And what you see here, the chart is printed on paper, because this is how they did it without PowerPoint, right? So there was no PowerPoint. I know it's hard to imagine, but there were times like that. And what they needed to do then when they wanted to present the chart, they literally need to put it on paper. There was a department specialized on this. So if this gentleman who's holding the chart, if he spots a mistake and he said, oops, this number doesn't fit, they had to take this chart back to that department and rework it. So this sounds, I hope, for all of you very distant. Like we cannot imagine working like that, because now we all of us, we have our Excel spreadsheets, we have our PowerPoints. When we work with data and want to visualize and share, it's like a couple of clicks and we're done. But now imagine that we would take this experience that we all have with PowerPoints and Excel spreadsheets, and then we would move this experience also to other area, which seems a little bit more sophisticated. And that is if we are able to create our applications, workflows, automation, portals that we can use for our processes in the same way. And it is possible, and this is the power of the low-code, no-code technology. This technology is something, it's like, to explain it in a very simple way. So of course, there is still some coding behind what you see, but it's behind the scenes. And you are able to create automation apps, portals. You can even use modules of artificial intelligence if you want, without being artificial intelligence engineer. And this technology provides people with a simple user interface. When people ask me how difficult is that, I heard really funny answer. If you are able to build IKEA product, then you are able to do low code, no code. So this is the level of difficulty. This technology, of course, that's not a silver bullet. It's not meant for every challenge that you may see in your internal processes when you want to create this pleasant, one-stop convenient experience, employee experience. So it's not really for every use case that you can imagine. There is kind of like a good rule of thumb that as long as you work with simple tasks or tasks that would improve work of your department, your teams, and you are not customer facing, then this technology is really good. Once you move to business critical applications, customer facing, then I would recommend to be way more careful, because you need to put diligence in place. You need to put business continuity in place. You need to be way more robust. But overall, there are still a bunch of use cases where you can use that, where it's very beneficial, because these are exactly the use cases where your employees need your help. However, we don't have enough highly skilled developers that would be available to work on these simple things, which are just about internal improvement, because we need these developers to help us with the customer-facing applications. So I wanted to share with you a short journey, how in one of my previous assignments, how did we implement citizen development, local no-code in the company? Because as this is a change, it's not only technology, it's not about tool, it's also about culture, because decentralized innovation concept, it's a big cultural movement. It basically means that I don't control what everyone is doing. I don't want to control. I want to give you the power, but this is a cultural shift, as you can imagine. So in this case, what we did that first 2 years, it was really about experimenting. It was really about learning. It was giving people the platform and let them play with that. So in this case study, which I'm showing you here, this was a company with international presence. So over 2 years was built community of around 350 people who were connected via digital tools and who were trying and learning and playing and working with this technology. And they started to have success, which they shared in this virtual community. So then in the particular company who was part of this international group where I worked in. So then in beginning of 2022, we said, we are ready. So let's move from the phase of experimenting to raise awareness across the larger portion of the company and motivate people to join that. So what I did, that I came to my team and I said like, hey guys, all of you, you need to develop an app. If we're going to promote any technology, we need to have hands-on experience. We need to know what we're talking about. Is it really as difficult as IKEA shelf, or is it more difficult or less? So we formed together a group of couple of teams of people excited, let's call them like early adopters, and we started to build our apps, and then we demoed this application on all staff event. We also started to prepare trainings and access to resources for their employees. So whoever was attracted by this technology, that they can join the journey with us. We were preparing a hackathon, all staff event, where everyone can come and can tackle some challenge, either of work improvement, employee experience improvement, anything that people believe is important, and topics for which we never had enough time or priority with our highly skilled resources. So in order to organize it a little bit, we set a theme. The theme was, let's use this technology for internal improvement, for your improvement, for fun, for engagement. And we were looking at the use cases that were submitted and selecting the ones that fit the theme and also the ones that fit the technology. And then we prepared the event, we communicated the event, we made it all staff event, and then we did the hackathon itself. So, and this hackathon, that was for me unbelievable experience, because essentially what happened, that issues that existed for years, which was impossible to address them for whatever different reasons, suddenly they were solved, and they were, solved in a way that we had functional prototypes in 2 days. This is the power of that. And for me, this is mind-blowing. That imagine that there is something which is bothering you for years and you're not able to move forward, and you try everything, you suggest, you bring it to whatever committee, come on guys, this is important. And then you hear no, and then people work with that and they are frustrated because they say, come on, like this is really bothering us. Why do we have to do that? It's very difficult to be the best for the customer. And inside we struggle with speed and flexibility. And then you have 2 days and it's solved. So this is that power of that empowerment and of this particular technology and impact on the culture. So here are some examples of these prototypes which were created during these 2 days. And the agreement with our leadership team was very simple. When you win this competition of the hackathon, and there was a guarantee that your idea will be all company implemented. And this is exactly what happened. So the 2 examples here, number 1 and number 3, these were the winners. The first winner, that was award decided by our leadership team. The second winner, that was a case which was awarded and voted by our employees. And this is another really beautiful thing here, because what the examples which you see here, they are all very useful, but the one which our employees voted as most important for them was the one which has a CSR component. So basically there was application, internal bazaar. Imagine that you have a thing and you don't want it anymore. So I have this box here and I say, I don't want it anymore. It's still functional, it's perfect. So I can sell it to Rochelle, but or I can sell it to someone and let's say Rochelle will buy it. However, I can decide, because we as a company, we work with a charity organization. I can decide if Rochelle wants to pay me, I don't know, $20 for that. I will not accept the money. The money will go directly to that charity as a donation. Or I can say I will take half and half will go to charity to donation. So this was something that our employees voted for, to make it easier for them to be able to donate while be sustainable, because it was all about reusing of objects, of things that someone in the company did not need it that someone else could use. And this is for me, again, a very eye-opening thing, because all these ideas, they existed before, but we never had time to do them. And when you compare these ideas with a priority for customer-facing issues, of course, the customer-facing issues always win. And again, it's right, it's good. But then we are just drawing the scissors, like experience, what is the customer experience and what is the employee experience? And if we are not able to close it, then we end up in frustration. So this is a way how to address that frustration. And I really liked the result of this event. It was spectacular. So just a few more comments at the end. Again, nothing is as perfect as it seems. This is, of course, I'm trying to tell you that this was a great idea. However, to make it properly, to make it right, there is certain work behind it. You need to set a framework because this is a technology that you need to adopt in your company. So you need to set some rules. You need to educate your people. You need to foster collaboration. And of course, there are some frameworks that help you start. But what is most important, and which I would really recommend, if you decide to go this path, have fun and learn on the go. Don't take it too seriously, because the point is that once you are able to have fun with that, then you will attract much more employees, because, you know, people want to have fun, people want to be happy, they want to have good experience working and collaborating. So if you let them, then they will learn and they will be able to apply this technology on more serious issues. So that's all from my side. The very last comment on the button, why I am so interested, so attracted by this topic. There is a quote which I use from Jeff Bezos, and that is about innovation, that when you start to be limited, you are put in a box and you want to get out of the box, you have you know, limits in your resources, whatever that means, then this forces you to innovate, because you need to find a different way to get out. And when I come back to the very beginning of my presentation where I talk about impact of technology, the point is that we will have in future less and less you know, people who are skilled in technology to help us with these internal and seamlessly smaller issues. So we need to find a way out of that. And one way out of that is to democratize and give this you know, ability to develop these applications and automation and whatever to every employee that we have, so that they can act upon their ideas. So that's all from my side. And I would now hand it over to Rochelle.
Thank you so much, Lenka. That was wonderful. So we have a few questions on the board. I'm gonna go through them, and please, you have the ability to upvote the questions, so I highly encourage you to do that. If you need the access to the chat or the Menti meter, please go and click the link that I posted on the chat. So the first question for us is, can you share more about the workplace location sharing app for hybrid teams?
Can I share more about
the workplace location sharing app for hybrid teams? I guess earlier you were sharing about hybrid teams and tools that you can use.
Oh, right. So that was not necessarily about. You mean that there was the example of one of the innovation that employees delivered, right? So the innovation was about the fact that when we started to work in a hybrid, we would still like to meet people, but I guess, and this is what I hear from many people, like either you have everyone back to office, which is not necessarily what people want. But if you continue working hybrid, then practically it means that you come to the office, but not everyone is there. So you still spend a big portion of your time simply in some meeting room and behind your computer connecting with someone. And you would like to meet people, but you don't even know who specifically is coming or not. So yes, you can organize yourself and you sell every Monday, everybody comes to work, but which sometimes can work and sometimes not. So this innovation was about having an app where people who wants to be part of that simply indicate who is coming to office and when, so that you can share this in the app. You can just search, oh, is Peter going to be there, or I say I'm going to be there. This has also implication of sharing our parking space, because, you know, again, very traditionally, people had to have their parking spaces booked basically for a full year. So if you had a car and going to the company by car, then you just, you know, like had your parking space. But now all these parking spaces were not used anymore. And then people who did not have usually allocated parking space said like, okay, if I want to come by car, then where do I park? So this was also like to sharing and basically giving someone else's your space just because you're not in the office. So this app was about to because again, I know that it's not that great to come to the office by car, but what was the point of that? That during the COVID, people moved out of cities to live in suburbs or even outside of the city completely. So they needed to come by car. Sometimes it was easier for them. So this application was supposed to help people to simply know who's going to be there and give them better opportunity for this informal meetings in the kitchen corner, over coffee.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, do you guys see my screen, right? The questions on the screen? Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Oops, I skipped one. Okay, next question. Often various stakeholders in the organization want to embark on a digital transformation and be part of high-performing teams. But how does one ensure that there's leadership buy-in or support?
Right. So this is very important question, because leaders are setting direction. So if you want to move towards high-performing teams and digital transformation, you need to be aligned on that direction. And for that, you need your leaders to understand and be able to set the right direction. So how do we get buy-in and support? I have to say very honestly, I don't like the word buy-in, because for me, buy-in, it's like someone comes and tries to sell me something, and I think like it's always a little bit like push, like I want you something and then I push you a little bit into that so that you say, oh, okay, I will buy this. So that's why I don't like this expression buy-in, because I believe what is much more important is to be able to get in a situation where you co-create your future together, where leaders and teams and their employees co-create their future. And this is a different facilitation technique. This is a different approach. I personally believe that it's much better working than to have idea and then get buy-in of others and, get them on the train. So I believe that that is better where you create such an environment where people can contribute to the future, which is in common for all of them. And this means also for the leaders. So then it starts with raising awareness. It starts with educating. Like, for instance, when I come to someone and say like, hey, it's important to work with technology, they may trust me or not, right? But so what I need to do, that I need to give them more information. I need to let them experience it by themselves and connect the dots so that they start understand. So getting that understanding, I think this is always the first step. And then it's a lot about experience, because again, if I just present a concept on a paper or on PowerPoint, again, you can trust me or not. And it's not replaceable with actual experience. I love to work with agile teams, with teams that work with agile methods. And then I love to, experience this transformation from a team that struggles in communication and everything, and then turns into high performing. And I think this experience leaders should have as well, because then they see the power of all these approaches, the power of coaching, the power of when we empower our employees, when we help them to put in place the continuous improvements techniques. So it's about bringing them in the teams as well. It doesn't have to be at a large scale at the beginning, but it was very important, this initial experience, that they will remember, they will know what that actually means. So awareness, education, giving them the experience, showing them success, showing them how does it work, and then let them co-create, let them also express their worries, their fears, their frustration, because all of that is a part of the process to changing direction and deciding that I am ready to move forward.
Thank you for that, Lenka. So our next question is, I heard you say that you work in an environment which is traditional. What does traditional mean? Is it good or bad, and why?
Well, I would refrain from saying if something is good or bad. I think there is way too many variety of different work environments. But what I meant by traditional is this notion, like this traditional thing that people have their roles, some people decide, some people contribute, some people follow the direction of someone else. This is what I meant traditional. When I started to work like 20 years ago, there was some hierarchy, you know, like these people were supposed to make decisions and these people were supposed to maybe contribute and these people were supposed to follow. So this is what I meant by traditional. I believe in our modern workplace, I think this concept is less and less viable, because what is very important for any high-performing teams is a flow of information, sharing, and ability to contribute, and really utilizing the talent. This is a very interesting topic that we often hear, war for talent, like how do we get talents in our company? But then what I experience is that we get talent in the company, and then we don't allow this talent, this person, to actually use their skills to the biggest benefit, because we restrict them. And we restrict them by rules, by hierarchy, by the way how it's done. So what I believe is, again, it's better is to look for this empowerment for, first of all, even like psychological safety, so that people can voice their opinions, that they are not afraid to disagree with their bosses, that we actually encourage that. Because once we have diversity of thought, then we can innovate. We cannot innovate if everyone agrees with someone or keeps quiet when they disagree.
That's great. Yeah, not to box people in, right? But to give them that ability to explore and be heard. Thank you. Do you record and share leadership group meetings? Why or why not?
Well, so now when I think at very particular examples, so we do actually record some of the leadership meetings, but not all of them. And again, why? So sometimes it's really practical thing that when we do some of the leadership meetings, which are fully virtual, so then it's even like easy to record them. And we do that because as we operate in a global environment, literally all over the world, it's sometimes even like difficult to get people on the call at the same time because of different time zones. And of course, we respect that it might happen that someone is not available. So that's why we record, so that they can listen to that. I believe this is also very good for transparency, because this is a leadership meeting. So, I mean, like whatever is discussed, it's supposed to be important, but it's also supposed to be then communicated and executed. So it's important to keep the track of that information. Then there are meetings which we do not record because these meetings are physical or in hybrid. And this is simply, you know, like we don't have these tools, like, you know, like we don't make it a movie. These meetings are very long. When we have strategic meetings, it's like days of these meetings, right? So it's like 1 day, 2 days. So we do not surround ourselves with camera to record it. We don't do that. However, indeed, we keep track, and I guess like this is a bit obvious, we keep track of the discussion, decisions that were made. So it's more classic meeting minutes than really like 1 day of recording of people discussing and deciding.
Great. Moving on to the next question. In your experience, how did you convince the organization to at least try something new, or to start on this journey of innovation, or I guess digital transformation?
Right. So this is again excellent question. And you know, I would say that everything starts with understanding where is the value that you want to create. Because again, when just talk about my experience, so there's always a lot of great ideas. People always come with great ideas, and I love to come with great ideas too. However, what is very important to understand, like, is that idea going to create value to the current situation where I am right now? So are we able to see importance of that idea? Because if yes, if there is a match, then there is a very good chance that the idea will be executed. If the idea is not connected to what we do, or we can't see the value, then again, the probability that the idea will be executed is low. So then when I want to convince someone to try something, I really need to be very good at explaining the value that it will bring for them and for their teams. And again, there are 2 ways how to do that. One way is that when you have the trust of people and you tell them and they trust you that you want to help them, then they can say, okay, let's give it a try. So this is, for instance, when I coach some teams for longer time and we build that trust. So then, of course, they are much easier to accept new ideas because they already have experienced that and some previous ideas work. If you don't have this trust yet, again, I would recommend to bring that experience either from some other company to show how it's working, or do an experiment first and then show and demonstrate that experience. Another very important thing here is to give people space to voice their concerns, because we have to understand that even if we ourselves are excited about something new and we want to try that and we want to do that because we already have that experience or excitement that it's going to work, then for people who are not part of this process, they need their time to get ready for that. They need to have that capacity for change. And this is what we need to respect, and we need to give them that time. So just to give you a very specific example, in one of my previous engagements, we developed half a year training development program for our leaders to be more skilled in agile leadership. And the way how we did it over half a year was that, I mean, like when we counted the hours of learning, it would fit in probably like 5 days. So we had two options. Either we would say, okay, we do 5-day training, or okay, 5 days, could be 2 days and 2 days, right? And that's it. But we didn't do that because we knew that there's so many new information, new many approaches. So that what we did instead was 2-hour session every other week, so that people had time to reflect in like small bit size, consume, reflect, think what do you do with that, and let it sit. Because there was simply way too many new things, way too many new perspectives. So we need to respect ability of people to consume these new approaches and give them time to voice their concerns and get more comfortable with that new idea.
Great, thank you for that. And so we have right now 3 questions left. So I just wanted to share that with just being conscious of the time. So moving on to the next one. How do you measure success?
This is a very interesting question. I hear that a lot. I can't say that I have any general answer to that, because I believe that if you want to measure success of anything, first you really need to ask yourself, like, what is it for? What I want to achieve? And you need to figure out what that success is, and only then you can measure that. Because I don't believe that much that success is kind of like a general thing, because we might say, okay, success is if we grow, if we are bigger right now. So what does it mean? Do we grow that we generate bigger revenue? Right. But for instance, I work for a company which is for purpose. It's self-funded, but for purpose. So generating revenue, of course, is good. However, it's not that measure of success. The measure of success is the impact that we can create. Right. So it always starts understanding what I want to achieve, what value do I want to create, and then how do I measure that value. And I have to say again, there's like a lot of experience what I have is that it is it's really hard to measure, because people, I don't know, it's like it requires a lot of thinking to really properly figure out that value part. What is the value that I really create? When I say impact, what do I mean by that? And so it takes time. It takes effort to understand that, and then to figure out the right measures. Well, I'm not a big friend of having these easy measures, like just throw a bunch of KPIs which look good and I measure them, I feel good, I measure something, but it doesn't give me the real reflection on the value which I'm creating.
Thank you. Okay, I heard you mention the term inner work. Can you please give concrete examples of what inner work is?
That is interesting, because I'm not sure I mentioned inner work. So
maybe more of, I'm guessing, internal work, or something that's within, from the promotion of the use of citizens development or developers.
Right.
It applies more to like inner work. That's what I'm assuming from this, but could be mistaken. Maybe if somebody wants to put in the chat what they meant. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't recall that I would use this term. It's also like hard to imagine what is meant by that, but maybe let's move to another question. And then if you can explain a little bit more in the chat, then we can check it out.
Okay. Next one. How does the organization ensure that the strategy translates down to the work on the ground where teams are prioritizing, sorry, I can't pronounce the word, and executing on the corporate strategy?
Right, this is absolutely my favorite question. This is what I do for a living for the last 20 years. So yeah, that's again, this is a lot of work. So where it first starts is with transparency about the direction and clarity about the direction. And this is often the hardest part because in order to be clear and transparent, we need to make many decisions. And again, when we talk about corporate, when we talk about company, it's not one decision that we need to make. There are so many decisions that needs to be made at a certain point of time and be cohesive. And sometimes we cannot make a decision because we don't have enough data, we don't have enough clarity to even make that decision. So the first part, which sounds like, yeah, let's be clear on your direction and communicate that properly, it's hard because we need to set direction which is good enough to be followed. On the other hand, it should not be restrictive because we still want to allow the ideas to come and people to reflect where we're going. So if you're too restrictive, then there's no space for that. So this is the first part, but you need to figure it out. You need to work with vision. And then you have to be transparent and communicate, because we don't want to have the micromanagement. We don't want to have like command and control. There's not like one single emperor who decides on everything. But in order to delegate this decision-making in the organization, you need to give employees and teams enough information so they can make the right decisions. So this is another harder part. Because again, when I say it like this, I don't know if it sounds simple or not, but it does not cover the complexity of all, because the information where people need to decide in like daily situation, it's not only the information which I read on intranet or listen on some leadership meeting, it's data that I work with. So for instance, if you want to be good on execution strategy, you have to work with the data in your company in a way that you completely democratize your data and make them very accessible and easy to consume and easy to understand, which is totally different discipline than like communicating the strategy. Then there's another part, and that is really truly this empowerment, that once you let people access all the data, make informed decisions, then they need to be able to act so that they contribute to your strategy, that they don't slow it down. This empowerment is hard discipline on its own, because it's all about how you build your culture, how you organize yourself, how do you develop your people, how you work with them. So there are many, many different levels that you need to cover in one part. So for me, I always like to look at organizations as a system, and how do I optimize the system? How do I optimize the flow within the system? And there are so many different elements that you need to take, that you need to ensure that they are working properly. So that's why, for instance, I prefer when it comes to strategy, execution, implementation, not to have top-down approach at all, but to have like blended approach, top-down the direction, but bottom-up, where we meet in the middle, because people who are doing that work, the teams, they know where are their problems. And we cannot only like go top down, this is the direction and go, because they say, well, I would love to, but I cannot, because there is an obstacle which I need you to remove. So you setting direction here, but you're putting things moving here so that you understand where are the obstacles and actively helping to remove these obstacles, so then the company as a system can move forward.